This is a film made by Sid Atkinson over a period of years from 1954. It was shot on 8mm colour Kodak film. It's a silent film. This commentary is being put on by me, Richard Farnsworth, recorded on an MP3 player on June 28th, 2013. The Dore and District Ploughing Society was active from around 1900 to about 1980. This film covers a number of matches from 1954 to about 1964, not in any particular chronological order. It's filmed on several farms in the Dore area: Ryecroft Farm, Cooper's Farm at Whitelow, Bramall's Farm at Totley. This is my father, Dick Farnsworth, ploughing at Ryecroft Farm. This isn't actually in a ploughing match. He was just practicing doing the rig. Here he's harnessing his horses up. That's in the what we call the summer house field. It's filmed long before the present cubicle shed was built. Here's adjusting the large wheel of the plough. Just making his opening mark there. He used to do two marks to turn it over, and then he'll do the first full furrow. He's taking the first full furrow out now, standing up on the two scores that he'd first made, so that you get a nice straight ridge on the first full ridge down the field. Yeah, he's set them up now. You get a good ridge, or rig as he used to call it. Horses were trained not to walk on top of the ploughing that he'd just done. This, as you can see, was the ploughing match held at Ryecroft Farm in October 1954. These is John Lloyd bringing the plough out round the back, and John Farnsworth on one of the horses. It's looking down towards the farmhouse from the summer house field. This is the ploughing match committee coming to have a look at it. There's Joe Andrew and Tom Andrew and Tommy Fern there. That's Noel Hancock fettling up his horses. Noel and Janet live in the farm at the top of Long Line. This is one of the fields at Bramall's Farm at Totley. This is in one of the garden fields looking up towards the houses on Rushley Avenue, which in those days was called Hancock Road. This is in the field of Cooper's farm up at Whitelow. There's Noel and Janet. Now we're back in the bottom end of the garden field. You can see the houses haven't been built very long. There's virtually no fence or hedge between the houses and the field. That's Bill Rhodes' relation to Joe Denniff, and that's Alec Thorpe. You've got the committee here admiring the work. That's in the little square field just off Dore Road. You got Mr. Johnston and Ken Mosley and Joe Andrews. That's the Fordson Major, which was one of the top tractors at the time, and this was one of the old standard Fords. That's in our field that we call the hunting field, looking across towards the moss on the other side there. One of the grey Fergies. They were very popular for match ploughing in those days. That's Joe Denniff and Dick Farnsworth. Used to have wall building and hedging competitions at the same time. That again is the wall between Garden Field and Dennis Field. Rushley Road houses at the top. Rushley Avenue rather. And that's across at Cooper's on Whitelow. Basically have two types of wall building. There's the type where they keep the courses horizontal, and the type where you follow the contours of the land. And that's the produce competition. Those are some of our best turnips. That's a sheep roast, sheep provided by Joe Denniff. It's in the little field under the wood at Ryecroft Farm. It's a trailer plough on behind a standard Ford. It was a lot easier to keep it straight with a trailer plough. That's a David Brown. Sid was fond of putting these little verses into his film. This is a bit from Gray's Elegy. That was one of the big Fordson majors, the paraffin petrol TVO. They have very narrow wheels for the size of the tractor compared to tractors that you have these days. That's why he was having a bit of problem skidding. That's across at Fairthorne. It's the old Fairthorne Children's Home. That's Joe Denniff slicing up the sheep roast. At one time they had one of the largest wholesale butchers business in Sheffield. Just judging the turnips there. Getting well with the wall now. You can see the two different styles of walling there next to each other. Each man had about 3 yards of wall to build. It's back in the garden field again. They're getting it well turned over, and the little square field they've nearly finished. The applause of listening senates to command, the threats of pain and ruin to despise, to scatter plenty o'er a smiling land, and read their history in a nation's eyes. Far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife, their sober wishes never learned to stray. Along the cool sequestered vale of life they kept the noiseless tenor of their way. Now we're in the bottom end of the 7 acre, that's the bank. Below Dore Road, just at the top of those trees is Dore Road. See the ground's certainly looking a bit muddy there. Looking across with that's John Mason, a champion ploughman, That's Peachiff Golf Course in the background there. You've got the hedging competition. It's Brian Jarvis and Alec Thorpe. It's John Farnsworth inspecting the job. It's a nice bit of fencing. That's me, Richard Farnsworth, on our David Brown 990. That's in one of Bramall's fields at Totley. That's one of the old internationals. Again, you're looking across towards Totley Moss. Got some nice straight even ploughing there, and it's Totley Brickyard in the background. Latterly the ploughing matches were all held at Bramall's. The last 10 or so must have been at Bramall's. That's John Lummus. You're doing the judging. It's another David Brown 990. Sir Edgar Davies. You see, that's one of the Totley College buildings, which has now been demolished. Getting on well there, they've just about finished the wall. Getting some nice coping stones on the top. It's Maurice Matthews' dad, I think, that. That's Frank Knight, used to farm at the Avenue Farm. He's just doing his final furrow there. He's having a bit of a job keeping his feet straight. The committee looking at the final handiwork. Just measuring across to see if they got the evenness of the furrow width there. So just checking on the finer points of it. It's John Lloyd and Frank Knight judging it. This is Austin Revitt and his missus loading up, ready to get off back home. No spring-loaded back door there. That's why the door was in two parts, otherwise you'd not have been able to lift it. That's Noel and Janet on their way back home. They were close enough to walk, they didn't need a wagon.